Hello and welcome to the third unit, which will introduce to you the SAP Intelligent Robotic Process Automation Suite. My name is Thierry Groudin and I'm an RPA expert. In Unit 1 and 2, you've got an introduction to RPA in general and its potential use cases. In this section, we are going to see concretely how our solution is structured and how each component interacts with the other. So let's go. To start, let's ask ourselves what makes up a good RPA software suite. What is its main functions and how do they organize themselves together? An RPA solution must assure three main functions: being able to efficiently create, execute, and monitor automations in an industrial manner. About automation creation, the tool must provide an integrated development environment where all authoring tasks are performed. When we talk about running automations, Laurent explained in Unit 1 that there are two types of automations. The first is performed by the attended bot. From a technical standpoint, it is deployed on a user workstation, triggered by a user interaction. The goal from a functional standpoint is to behave as a digital assistant. It eases manual processes, simplifies them, and increases the user performance. Some part of the process are automated, but in the end, the user is in control. On the other hand, RPA solution must be able to run unattended bot as well. From a technical standpoint, unattended bot is generally deployed on virtual machines and is executed through a schedule or a trigger. From a functional standpoint, it behaves as a digital worker, aiming to execute manual and repetitive processes with low added value. It covers a whole process. And finally, what is RPA without control? RPA solution must contain an orchestration and monitoring tool. It must define and manage all process automation resources, ensure live control of the bot population, and provide dashboards. The tool reports to different user populations, such as robotic architects, IT operations, and business managers. SAP Intelligent Robotic Process Automation gathers all these functions by providing an innovative cloud solution, including on-premise automation tools. With this solution, the creation phase is divided in two different steps: capture the process and design the automation of the process. You can of course execute an automation and constantly check its state and performance. The solution is running on SAP Cloud Platform and can be integrated with any kind of applications, either SAP or non-SAP softwares, such as Microsoft Office, web applications, Windows applications, legacy systems, Java applications, and so on. Here are the three pillars of the solution. The Cloud Factory is responsible for orchestration and monitoring. It's a cloud-based solution powered by SAP Cloud Platform. No deployment required, simply a web browser. The Desktop Studio lets you build your process automation. You only have to deploy the studio on the developer's workstation. And finally, the desktop agent is the engine that executes the automations, either attended or unattended. Both desktop agent and studio are connected securely to the Cloud Factory. Let's give you now some details about each of these components. So, we start with the desktop agent, our on-premise component installed on production environments. On this desktop, a user interacts with a lot of on-premise applications, such as web, native, Java, and so on. For each application technology, the desktop agent provides a driver that can work as close as possible with the application so that it can click, navigate, or manipulate data. The automations are developed by using a framework based on JavaScript. Its extensivity and openness allows to perform many other actions, such as connecting to any API or creating tailored user interfaces. Once installed, administrator privileges are never required on the machine anymore. The desktop agent will simply leverage the user profile and its Windows credentials. When the agent runs as an assistant, it can start applications, modify their size or visibility from full screen to compact mode or background mode. It can also inject UI elements such as button or label on top of business application without modifying their code. The digital assistant can also display graphical forms specifically dedicated to help the user in his daily work, such as 360 view, banner, or tooltips. All the UIs you can see on the right have been built with our solution. That way, the digital assistant offers guidance and process conformity to the end user. It can also simplify the journey through all his business applications, reduce learning curves while letting the user in control. Such UIs you can see can be built with the Desktop Studio, as we'll see later. Okay, you can steer UIs from various technologies, but you can connect your agent to many more things. As the automations are developed in JavaScript, you can leverage the openness of the language to connect to numerous APIs, file systems, database, APIs. What JavaScript offers, you can benefit in your script. And of course, you can connect to every intelligence service to extend the automation level. We offer a simple connection to SAP intelligence services, such as conversational AI, Leonardo machine learning, and so on. Our solution will also be able to connect to any intelligence service already in place in your company, as long as it exposes APIs. Security is key. So we decide at SAP that before an agent could run any automation, it will establish a secure trust registration to the Cloud Factory. A strong authentication is required while establishing communication through a secure WebSocket. Once authenticated, the agent will be able to run only the automations that have been authorized by the cloud administrators. Desktop Agent and Cloud Factory are constantly connected so that the Desktop Agent can check regularly what automation is allowed to get from the factory and provide to the user. On the other side, the Cloud Factory can trigger digital workers when unattended jobs have been scheduled. That's it for the Desktop Agent. Moving on to the Cloud Factory. The Cloud Factory is a central component that orchestrates all process automations. In addition of existing services provided by SAP Cloud Platform, the factory takes care of managing and monitoring intelligent RPA concepts and artifacts. It contains also monitoring dashboards and reportings about agent, job, or triggers. Cloud Factory is already available in several languages. It's also GDPR compliant, and you can have access to data protection and privacy, where, for example, you can delete data from a given user. So now let's say you have developed an automation and you are ready to distribute it to all over your company or your customers. Let's see how it is done with the factory. First, you have to define structured sets of users or machines that will receive your automation. These sets are called hierarchies. You will assign properties to these hierarchies to define time frame availabilities or organization between users and machine. For example, you can reserve time for unattended usage as shown on the screen. This feature is useful when you have machines running attended and unattended jobs. Then you would reserve night time for unattended jobs so that the machine owner won't be bothered with automatic jobs popping out during workday. Then you have to define different environments on which you develop automations, test and deploy them on production. The environment is bound with a hierarchy presented in the previous slide, and this hierarchy describes the different machines or users that are granted to access this environment. All the specific characteristics that differ between environments, such as URL, credentials, properties, are also stored as variables here. You are now ready to import your automation package you developed from the Desktop Studio. Once the package has been uploaded to the factory, you must create a configuration. A configuration sets the rules how to use a package. You simply link the configuration to the previously defined environment and set the activation time frame. Besides, a planner gives you the ability to set time frames during which unattended jobs will be periodically executed. To put all those concepts together, let's recap. You create a hierarchy to define a population of habilitated users or machines. Hierarchies can be used in several environments. You define an environment to bind together hierarchy and variables. An environment can be used with multiple packages. You import a package that contains the automations you have designed, and a package can have dozens of configurations. And you create a configuration to describe how a package can be used. A configuration can have countless jobs over time. Last but not least, about the Cloud Factory, the monitoring thing. From the home page, you have access to a dashboard showing most important figures about packages, agents, and jobs. The Cloud Factory will provide metrics and details of any noticeable event and action. For example, you can have a look on connected agents and display the activity on the platform. Or you can get the status breakdown of recent jobs between successful, failed, or cancelled. Or you can display the queue of incoming jobs, or anything. That's all for the factory. Let's move on to the Desktop Studio. The Desktop Studio is an integrated development environment containing a suite of tools dedicated to process automation development. It mainly contains 4 core components: an application capture tool, a workflow designer, a code editor, and a built-in debugger tool that allows to perform local and remote tests. Let's go through these different tools from one development phase to another. You start with the application capture phase. Here you need to identify all UI elements to automate. You simply have to display the page you want to capture to a UI inspector. Then it will save all elements from the page and let you move to the next phase, which is the declaration phase. Declaration phase consists in declaring the UI elements you want to manipulate during the design. You'll have to declare them in a unique manner so that the agent finds always the correct field you interact with. And to help you, the graphical user interface provides a validation wizard that checks the uniqueness of your declarations. Then you're ready for the design phase. For this, you'll use the workflow designer perspective, and you will design your workflow by dragging and dropping activities amongst a collection. This can be an activity like start an application, read an Excel file, click a button, call an API, and so on. Everything is done graphically and provides in the end a readable workflow of the business process that you can add in your project specifications. Once the workflow is completed, you can make the JavaScript code generation happen with just one click. Desktop Studio contains also a scripting editor tool to let developers benefit from their development skills. In particular, the developer will have a direct access to our SDK and will be able to build and include his own JavaScript libraries. The editor's perspective includes help such as wizards, syntax checking, auto-completion, and so on. You can navigate between the workflow and the code at any time. And a UI designer tool is also integrated in the studio. This tool makes you design and generate UI that can interact with the user. For example, to bring help, information, or guidance. When writing code, it is necessary to have a test and debug tool. And the sooner you can test, the better. For that purpose, the Desktop Studio contains a full JavaScript debugger with essential features in it: step-by-step execution, variable watch, breakpoints, and so on. The process testing is very useful after the production deployment as well, when you need to maintain the script, for example. For this, you can count on interesting features such as diagnostic functions that gather incident logs from the end-user desktop, or a replay mode to replay the error case on developer's machine. Interesting point about maintenance. Sometimes it happens that you see a UI that changes, and that may lead to a failure of your automation. Thanks to the project modularization, which separates declaration from design work, as with just so, you will update the UI declaration only once, and your boat will run again. So that's it for the Desktop Studio overview. To conclude, I'd like to give you an insight about how all these three components are orchestrated to deliver process automation. It starts with the studio, and automation is designed. The developer creates a project including JavaScript files, resources, and application declarations. He develops on top of a SDK, which includes the framework, plugins, and common resources. The files are merged into a package. The package contains all resources needed, such as the compiled project, the framework, and so on. The developer imports his package within the factory, creates configurations that can take care of job delivery and scheduling. Configured packages are now distributed to agents. Some agents work as digital assistants triggered by users on the machine. Other agents work as digital workers triggered from the factory. The agents process the used job and send back the job results to the factory. That's all for this journey through the solution. Thank you, and I let you with Harsha, who will explain the business value of our solution.